Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. For this month's Bird Notes program, we're going to talk about the changes that come with fall. And joining us from the Audubon Center in Huntington is bird expert and conservation biologist Mark Labar. Thank you so much for being with us, Mark.
As always, great to be here, Fran.
So I'm assuming that when you say changes in fall, you're not talking about leaves.
Well, this is a bird program, so yes, we focus on birds. Um, Last month, I talked a little bit about how birds start to molt at the end of the summer, and some of them put on some drastically new clothes, quote unquote, feathers, plumage characteristics. And so I thought I'd touch on that a little bit today.
Awesome. So there is a lot of variation with some birds. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so this first one is really kind of drastic. This is a summer tanager in its breeding plumage, and it will molt into its fall or winter plumage, the plumage that it carries around through the winter time, into something much drabber. This is a male, and it'll come much closer to what the female looks like. It'll lose all those bright red feathers, and it's kind of fun to see them halfway through their molt because they kind of look like they're wearing a tie-dyed t-shirt.
Yeah, it almost looks like a goldfinch or something. It's a completely different bird.
It is, and the same with this next one, which is an indigo bunting. And a lot of these changes we see more dramatically in the males than the females. Here, this bunting's all nice and blue and ready to go, and then come spring, fall, it loses a lot of that plumage. And again, this one too can look very mottled. Some of the males will retain some of those blue colors that you can see a little bit of blue in the wing feathers there up on the shoulders. So, but yeah, pretty drastic from what they look like during the summer months.
And again, are they then more like the female of the species, or
Well,
not
one way
necessarily?
of putting it on, they put on their showy feathers for they'll do another molt in the springtime, and they'll put on their showy feathers for the breeding season. And then, one could almost think about this as their normal attire, even though it's not as pronounced as it is during the breeding season.
Oh, well, I've also heard that people talk about how confusing fall warblers are. So talk to us about some warblers that also make this drastic change.
Yeah, so this is a group of birds. They're very small, and during the summer months, they come in here to Vermont with their bright clothing on or feathers on. But then when they go through their plumage late in the summer, this is a chestnut-sided warbler, pretty common bird that we see here in Vermont in our early successional habitat. And this male is all nice and done up, and this is what he looks like after he goes through that late summer molt. He keeps a little bit of the chestnut sided portion, but really loses a lot of the other features that you would normally see. So this is a good example of these birds that can be, like you said, very confusing for folks in the fall.
Right. So it must be tricky for birders. Are there other warblers that also go through this kind of change?
Yeah, so another bird this is a bird that breeds up on the high elevations in Vermont, the black pole warbler. It is very striking. Again, in the summer, this bird makes a tremendous fall flight down to the Caribbean, almost 4 days over open ocean. But when it does that, it looks like this. And years ago, when I used to do a lot of fall banding, you could tell the difference between this and a bay-breasted warbler by the color of their feet. So they look so similar. And this is where it gets very challenging for birders that are going out and looking for these fall warblers to kind of identify them and pick them out. And of course, challenges are always fun for birders. So a great time to be out and looking for some of this stuff.
So these birds are all migrating down down to the Caribbean or other places to Mexico. So they are in migration, but they are in these very different fall colors. Suits.
Right, and a lot of these birds, um, migrate at the end of August, beginning of September through September. There's some potential lingerers around at this time, but yeah, they're just putting on their regular clothes. Here's another great example. This is what a Canada warbler looks like, a male in the springtime. Another not so common bird here in Vermont, but a good one if you can find it. And then again in the fall, you can see this is a bird we caught at the Audubon Center, and you can see much drabber, not needing to sport all those fancy colors in the off season.
Or that beautiful necklace.
Yes,
Really.
the necklace, which is classic for Canada warblers. Yep.
Well, this I take it is that you holding that bird. You're very good at this
That
and
is.
banding and.
Yes, so that's at our bird banding station at the Green Mountain Audubon Society, and behind me is Fiona McCarthy and Gus Lund, our two interns that worked with us this year. And this is kind of a great segue to the next thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay, so so go for it. You have a very special event coming up.
Yeah, we do. So the Green Mountain Audubon Center, my backyard. I live here at the center. It's 255 acres of trails and walks along the river and swimming holes. It's just an awesome place. And coming up, we are going to be holding our Birds and Barn event. Now, this is on Saturday, the 25th. It's going to have all sorts of things, bird walks in the morning, which folks should register for on our website. I'll be banding birds. There'll be face painting or arm painting, depending on how things go. Ice cream for purchase, all sorts of different things. It's sponsored in part by Main Street Landing, so we're really looking forward to celebrating the center.
Sounds fantastic, and it seems that the barn is kind of the centerpiece for this year's special event.
Yeah, our education barn has been used to promote environmental education for since the 60s, and this is a classic shot of what you used to be able to see out off the porch at the Audubon. Kids hanging out and the barn there in the background, and it's had some updates and repairs over the years, but we're really excited to show off the really big renovations that were done over the past year, both inside and out. You can see the outside makeup, and so this is just going to really enhance our ability to provide environmental ed to kids and students and adults. So we're really excited about this, and kind of the main impetus for this big event that we're having on the 25th.
So it's kind of a barn opening.
Yeah, we'll have pictures from, I think, the 2018 Audubon Photography Awards in there. All of it will be outside down at the Sugar House, except for those times when you go through the barn. And, we'll have proper COVID protocols in place for that. We're really, we haven't had our Sugar on Snows the past couple, the last year. So we're really looking forward to having this. There'll be a big tent, and it should be really exciting. People wandering all over the Audubon, which, like I said, is just such a great place to work and to live, and a great way for folks to experience the outdoors.
So this Saturday, it starts at 10 and goes, what, I think it said 3 in the afternoon?
So if you want to do the morning bird walks, you should go to our webpage to register. They start at 8, and that's www.vt.audubon.org, or you can just Google Audubon Vermont. And then I'll be banding at that point, and through the morning, hopefully we'll catch some stuff. And There'll be live birds there from Outreach for Earth Stewardship at some point. So just lots of different activities for both adults and kids.
Fantastic. So talk a little bit about, so there's the bird walk, but you also have all those trails that you showed on that map. So people could go and decide to do their own hike and then see you banding or come back, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's really the goal, is to not only highlight the barn, but just highlight this gem of a place. You know, we're only about 25 minutes from Burlington, so we're pretty close. The trails can be long, they can be short, flat, hilly. They run near the river. They go through all sorts of different habitats. It's really been a great educational and conservation site for years, since basically the 60s, when it became the Green Mountain Audubon Center.
And you even mentioned swimming hole. I think it might be, maybe it'll be warm enough. You actually, people could swim there.
They could dip their toes. Our river trail does go along the Huntington River, and there are places that, there are access to the water. So if folks are willing to, and it's warm enough, there's certainly those opportunities.
Okay, Mark. I want to make sure that if people have bird-related questions, you can see Mark at this wonderful event, or you can pass it along to Mark at the address on your screen, or you can drop Mark an email. His address is mlabar@audubon.org. You can send Mark your questions and pictures, and he'll try to find the answers for you on an upcoming edition of Bird Notes. Mark Labar, thank you so much. Have a wonderful event this weekend.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it, and come on out, folks.
All right. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.